They hate when you elevate.
Yeah, they hate when you elevate.
8TP, what it do with your boy Clay? More rain. Back at you guys with another one. Man, salute to all my subscribers. As I always start the show off, thank you guys for supporting the channel. You know how it is. You know how we carry it. If this is your first time tapping into the content, I am going to ask you, or invite you, should I say, to go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Hit your bell icons as well, so you are getting alerts when all of this content is dropping. So, first of all, you guys know I've been out of it. Talking to COVID survivor, right? Nah, yeah. Boy caught something nasty these past couple of days. Been shaking it off, but definitely wanted to still tap in with the family. Let everybody know everything's going good, and definitely got to share my perspective on this coming this weekend, or today, Saturday's upcoming fight we got going on this evening, right? One of them being Liam Paro and Richardson Hitchens coming up this evening. Both of these guys came in, hit the scales this morning. What should I say? Yesterday, hit the scales. Everything seems to be okay. Both of the fighters are on weight, and we have a fight going on this evening. So, what am I looking to going into this fight? You guys know the story a little bit. If you don't know it already, Liam Paro kind of, I don't want to say came out of nowhere, but did come and ended up being a big contender in the junior welterweight division, right? It started off with Montana Love. This guy coming from out of New Zealand went against Montana Love and actually was able to KO Montana Love. Not too sure if he was an underdog in that fight so much, but definitely came out of nowhere when he stopped Montana Love. I know a lot of people feel like Montana Love kind of fell off a little bit, but still a slick, athletic fighter. And Liam Paro was able to neutralize a lot of the athleticism of Montana Love, and ultimately end up stopping him in the 6th round, right, out of a 10-round fight. But ultimately was given an opportunity to fight for an IBF belt in his next match. What was that, like June? I want to say June of this year, against Subriel Matias. Now, you guys know Subriel Matias was the boogeyman of the 140-pound weight class division, right? Holding the IBF title. People were real kind of nervous about what this kid was going to do in that division. A lot of fighters, I think, were probably not too excited to fight against Subriel Matias, coming out of Puerto Rico, had a very, tough upbringing, we'll say, but ultimately had a real bad reputation for really ending fighters. I believe he actually killed a fighter, I want to say, unalived a fighter in a fight. I mean, this kid was definitely something to watch out for. But ultimately, Liam Paro was able to come into this match, and through his boxing IQ, was able to take advantage of Subriel Matias' lack of activity in the first couple of rounds in the fight, and ultimately able to weather some storms, as well as Subriel Matias has done in Subriel Matias form, turning up in the middle of the second half of the fight, putting some pressures. At times looked like he might even hurt Liam Paro, but Liam Paro shown he had the grit, right, obviously, and also the boxing IQ to go ahead and keep that lead, and as well as survive and weather some storms in that fight. So he's kind of been battle tested at this point. You want to say he's been battle tested, but still, Subriel Matias, not really your regular traditional boxer. So at the same time, where Subriel Matias, in my opinion, is very dangerous, but at the same time, I've always kind of seen him as somebody who could be taken advantage of by a more traditional boxer, somebody who could play it more safe, who could keep those leads and not get into those dangerous melees with him where they would end up getting stopped, right? And I'm talking about fighters like Teofimo Lopez or even a Devin Haney, or fighters of that caliber, high IQ boxing, boxer puncher type fighters. But I'll be honest with you, Richardson Hitchens is somebody I would have said, had a good chance of beating Subriel Matias. I think hindsight, most people would look at that and kind of see where I'm coming from it now. Before Subriel Matias took that loss from Liam Paro, probably not too many people would have agreed with me on that. But still, Richard Hitchenson does bring that boxing IQ and pedigree to the space, and it's just more of a mathematical problem to kind of figure out if you're a boxer. Well, that's who Liam Paro is getting ready to go face against, right? Richard Hitchenson coming in off one of his poorest performances, if we want to be honest, right? Richard Hitchenson coming off of a performance with Gustavo Lemos back in April of this year, where Gustavo Lemos seemingly exposed Richardson Hitchens, right? Put some pressure on him, hurt him a bunch of times in that fight. But Richard Hitchenson able to, also weather those storms that he was going through. As Richard Hitchenson speaks on weathering bad weight cuts and things of that nature, with the IBF mandatory, the IBF regulated the weight rehydration clause, with the IBF. It made it difficult for Richard Hitchens to get that good weight on. He had to really be on a strict diet. Seems like he wasn't too disciplined during that camp, and it might have affected him as well, going into that fight. Well, it seems like this time around, Hitchens did look, in my opinion, better on the scales as well, and says he hired a nutritionist, and ultimately just wanted to remind everybody, I'm still the guy who just dominated Jose Zepeda in that division, right? Jose Zepeda, a fighter coming in like 37 wins. I think it was like 2 losses at the time, a pretty decent knockout ratio. So this kid does have the skills to pay the bills. Liam Paro is going to have to really show improve in this fight, right? Where even with Montana Love, who was also a slick, high pedigree boxer, didn't come with the physical attributes that Hitchens comes in the ring with, right? I mean, this kid stands at 5'10" with a 74-inch arm reach. He does bring those physical attributes backed up with a lot of IQ that he's built, sparring some of the best boxers in the business, right? The Devin Haney, the Shakur Stevenses, right? Even the Keyshawn Davises, right? Maybe even the Tank Davis, right? He's sparred and got a lot of good work in, and he really is very proud of where he's at IQ wise. And I think Liam Paro is going to be challenged in this fight, right? It's going to be more than challenged. I'll be honest with you. There's more than, I'm not going to say more than likely. I'm trying to keep my opinions to myself, but I'll say it like this. This is going to be as close to a 50-50 fight as you're probably going to get to. And I'm going to say that in the sense that although I believe Richard Hitchenson is probably the better boxer going into this fight, Liam Paro does bring that dog, and I think he can put Richard Hitchenson in those situations just like Gustavo Lemos did, right? I think he can apply that pressure, and it'll be up to Richard Hitchenson to show the world that that fight was just a bad night for him, and that in all reality, he not only has the ability and the fortitude to take punches, but also is Hitchenson going to have the power, the ability to sit on his punches and get that respect he needs from Liam Paro in this fight in order to be able to either weather the storm and make it through 12 rounds and win a decision, or ultimately stop Liam Paro somewhere in this fight, right? Will he be able to convince Liam Paro that Liam needs to be a little bit more reserved with his punches, a little more calculated, turn this fight into more of a boxing match to where I think Richard Hitchens will have the advantage? If this fight goes into more of a brawl, more into a fight, I would have to lean more toward Liam Paro in this fight, right? I think that's what he's going to be looking to do. Right, so Liam Paro comes in this fight 5'8", I think, with a 71-inch arm reach. So, Hitchenson has the leverage when it comes to those physical attributes, and I also think Hitchenson is a little better equipped on utilizing those physical attributes. He understands how to control that distance. He knows how to control that range and put you in a position to where you can't hit him and he's going to hit you. And ultimately, does he have that pop? Well, tonight's going to be the acid test for both of these guys, right? Liam Paro gets to prove to the world that he belongs, that he is the IBF champion, that he is a champion in the 140 weight class division, and that in all reality, he's probably the most serious competitor as far as champions are concerned in that division. And I'm saying, put this in perspective, that although Teofimo Lopez is probably the top guy at 140 pounds right now, being a WBO champion, his lack of activity and, quite frankly, lack of interest in competing in that space against the fighters that there kind of puts him to the side for me, right? Then you have Alberto Puello, who's a sitting WBC champion, and he did beat Gary Antoine Russell, who hadn't fought in about a year and a half at that point, right? Let's be honest. And a lot of people thought Gary Antoine won that fight, right? And then, of course, who else do we have in that division as far as champions are concerned, 140 pounds? We've got Liam Paro, we've got Teofimo Lopez, we've got who's the WBA champion we're missing? Who's the WBA champion right now? Oh yeah, and Rayo Venezuela, right? And then you have Rayo Venezuela, who's also a new champion, who just beat an Isak Pitbull Cruz. Both these guys just coming up from 135 pounds. I'd have to say that Liam Paro would definitely be in the conversation as far as being one of the best, if not the best, outside of Teofimo Lopez, junior welterweight champion we have. So whoever wins this fight puts himself in position for some bigger fights, some unification title fights, hopefully down the road as well. And it really holds one of the, in my opinion, difficult belts to hold on to with that rehydration clause. You know, that IBF championship makes anybody who's holding those belts really should be like true whatever weight class they're in division champions, in this case a junior welterweight division, because if you're what they would call a weight bully or somebody who takes advantage of the scales a little bit, this belt is probably not the belt you want to have, right, with that rehydration clause. So Hitchens did have some reservations about even competing for this belt when Subriel Matias had it, right? Now people will say different, say that wasn't the case, but it did seem as though Hitchens was very hesitant to take that fight. And if you really think about it, Hitchens was the mandatory as that title fight between, well, that mandatory title fight between him and Gustavo Lemos was an eliminator. It was going to determine who was going to be the mandatory for that IBF belt. At the end of that fight, he was very reserved as far as letting the world know as to whether or not he was going to go ahead and activate that mandatory and channel Subriel Matias, who was a champion at that time, or whether he considered going to some other sanctioning bodies, as he does hold high rankings in the WBC sanctioning body as well, which at the time was headed by Devin Haney, right? So he hesitated, but you know, Liam Paro becomes champion. He's a little more confident, and he did go ahead and activate that mandatory. This belt right here would be a championship belt, but like I said, questions about Hitchens' ability to stay inside those 10 pounds and still be healthy was always there, and it'll be there tonight. Tonight, he'll get a chance to prove to the world that night against Gustavo Lemos was a one-off night. This is what we should not be expecting from him, and normally what we should be expecting from him is, you know, a champion caliber fighter who's able to cut that weight in a safe way and compete at the highest level under those restrictions, right? So you guys pardon me, I'm a little hoarse. I'm still dealing with this COVID, still a little underwater, still very nasally, but still very nasal. But yeah, going into this fight, if I got to lean towards anybody, I'll be honest with you guys. I know a lot of you guys are leaning towards Liam Paro. I have my reasons for leaning towards Liam Paro from time to time. But for the most part, I think I am going to count on the boxer in this fight. I think that Hitchens knows how to win these fights. He knows how to perform on these stages. I think this is his time. You know, I think he makes a mark at 140. I could see him holding a belt and competing at the highest level in his space, unifying. I want to see him against the Gary Antoines. I could see him against Devin Haney, the Teofimo Lopez's, or Alberto Puello or Sandor Martin, whoever ends up winning their match to hold that WBC title. There's a lot of opportunities in that division, and the division to me is wide open for somebody to take the lead role in that division. You know, the only real champion that I could say lineal holding it down would be Teofimo Lopez, and I don't know what his future is going to be in that division. A lot of other fights, every other one of those belts are up in the air. The division's wide open. So I'd be leaning towards Richard Hitchens. I believe his boxing ability is going to get him across the finish line, and this one be enough to get him across the finish line, get him a win, and get crowned new IBF junior welterweight champion. You guys let me know what you think. Put it in the comment section. It's your boy Claymore Rain. Once again, shout out to all the subscribers to this channel. I appreciate you guys again. Once again, too much love. Anybody who's just first time seeing this content, take the time to go ahead and hit the subscribe button, hit your bell icon as well, so you all getting alerts when this content is dropping. But until the next one, you know how we carry it at this point. We out.